For those not familiar with McKinsey, they are an American global management and consulting firm that works with governments in companies all over the world. They became somewhat notable in Canada throughout the pandemic because they were working with not only Quebec but Ontario on their COVID response programs. That kind of stands out because they were two of the strictest provinces in the country. McKinsey has also played a variety of roles for the federal government, consulting on immigration strategy, the failed infrastructure bank, as well as kind of China relations. So to get a better understanding of how evil this company is, I wanted to watch another clip here from Robert Fife, a journalist from the Globe and Mail, kind of describing how troubling McKinsey is.
Prime Minister's personal friendship with Dominic Barton. Let's look at this company. They had to pay $560 million because for working for a big U.S. farmer called Purdue, which advised them to supercharge sales of opioids that killed tens of thousands of Americans. They were just recently charged in South Africa in a corruption scandal, which they already had to pay $100 million back. They helped Saudi Arabia target online protesters. In 2018, for example, they held an executive retreat at a Chinese internment camp that holds hundreds of thousands of Uyghurs. Now, let's think about this for a second. If the Conservatives had given the contracts to a company like this, the Liberals would be screaming at the top of their lungs. The Prime Minister always likes to extol great Canadian values. He'd be saying you can't deal with a company that has no moral compass. So the question is, why are we dealing with this company? They got these contracts because they weren't getting them before. They got them because Dominic Barton's a buddy of the Prime Minister.
And we don't know that, to be clear.
No, but that's what it looks like, right? And you know, he also advised them on the infrastructure bank, which, by the way, has been a flop. So there's another example of, okay, maybe they're a bunch of smart guys with PhDs, but their track record in terms of morality and ethics is a complete is very, very questionable. And we have to ask as Canadians, do we really want to be associated with a company like that? I think the opposition parties are saying, all three opposition parties are saying, no, we shouldn't be.
I find it hilarious as Vasi Capellas jumps to Trudeau's defense.
Yeah, but you know, he was right, and he is right. You know, all that started with Dominic Barton.
And who is that?
Yeah, Dominic Barton was the. But before all that, Dominic Barton was the McKinsey's global boss, and during that time, he was the economic advisor for Justin Trudeau in 2015, 2016. And he was the one who wrote a report on immigration to the Trudeau government about, you know, mass immigration and being sure that Canada will have 100 million people as soon as possible. And now Trudeau is implementing that report because, as you know, the goal is to have 500,000 people every year starting in 2025. So, and after that, because Dominic Barton did a very good job with Justin Trudeau, Justin said, oh, you were so great for us and for the Liberal Party. I will give you another job. And he was appointed in China and was the ambassador of our country in China. So that's, like you just said, McKinsey is a globalist organization working not only with governments around the world, but also with the World Economic Forum, with the UN, with the World Health Organization. And that's why, Daniel, we had all the same talking points during COVID-19, coming from Quebec in French or coming from UK and in London. That was the same talking points because that was the same firm who was advising all these governments. So we are speaking sometime about the deep state. And there's the deep state. There's also McKinsey. So there's a
lot of different ways to look at it. There's the bureaucrats, there's the career politicians, but there's also these extra kind of political entities, these consulting firms. We have them here in Canada as well. There's globalist ones. There's ones in our country here, but they're the same people. Often there's a revolving door, just like with Dominic Barton coming in as the ambassador, going back to McKinsey, being an advisor. We see the same thing with the Conservative Party and their consulting firms. This is where the steady state, the deep state comes into play. And our critics say, like, they like to justify COVID response and stuff by saying, oh, what all the countries are doing it. Like, it's like everyone independently came to the same conclusions. But behind it, there's the WEF and the WHO and McKinsey.
So that's why we are speaking about that. And that's why also we're promoting our sovereignty, and all these policies must be decided in Canada by Canadian politicians elected, and none by international bureaucrats or globalists working with McKinsey. And in Quebec, also in French, we had that debate. And because Legault said during the COVID hysteria that all these decisions was coming from his civil servants, but we know now that it was not true. So and same thing like you said in the beginning with Ontario. So people must know, and they received a lot of contracts, a lot of money from Quebec government, from the federal government.
I think we have a graph here. Over Trudeau's tenure, they've been radically increasing in the amount of money that they've been sending. I think that the top bar there, it's like $30 million this year that they've sent to McKinsey just this year. But consistently going up, and you have to question that relationship between Dominic Barton and Justin Trudeau.
Absolutely, we need to know a little bit more about that, but people must know that during COVID-19, and in Quebec, Dominic Barton, and maybe he was not there, but his firm McKinsey at that time said to the Quebec government, "You must do a curfew, and you maybe." Put a tax on unvaccinated Quebecers." That was coming not from the civil servant working for the Quebec government in Quebec. That was coming from McKinsey. All these bad ideas.
And similar is happening at the federal level as well, especially when it comes to the immigration department. You're getting complaints right out of the bureaucrats that they feel that McKinsey's doing redundant work. That what's the point of having we have a civil service with thousands of people, bloated civil service of people, and they're not even doing their jobs because Trudeau's simultaneously outsourcing their work to a consulting firm, probably paying a premium.
Absolutely. And when you have how many civil servants working for the government that you can use?
And they want to do this work, better by hiring the consultant firm while just paying for normal bureaucrats to do busy work. Like, no wonder that we're billions of dollars in debt.
I won't be surprised if Justin Trudeau, after politics, is working with McKinsey. They will thank him for everything that he did, and he may have a job over there after.
His cushy board of directors job.
Something like that.
He works 10 hours a week and gets paid more than the average Canadian does in their whole life. That sounds about right. And we're not making this stuff up. I think we have a screenshot straight from McKinsey's website where they're boasting about their relationship with the WEF. They were there last week doing presentations to the Globalist. I think we have another screenshot right after this with lines describing their relationship. They proudly work with the WEF. They're strategic partners.
Absolutely.
They are the arm, there's the think tank arm, that's the WEF, and then now there's the consulting firm that works directly with governments to implement these ideas. And it's not just in Canada, it's in France, in Mexico, in Germany. It's
a big scandal also in France. In France, sorry. What I must say is, with the legacy media, I'm very critic, about, being neutral and covering the news, both sides of the news. Sometimes, maybe almost all the time, they're not doing that. But on that file, on McKinsey, I must say that CBC, Radio-Canada in French, I was very surprised. They were the first legacy mainstream media who did that investigation.
You'd expect them to be like, "Oh no, this is the right decision. Trudeau definitely should be giving them millions of dollars," but they're actually covering it seriously.
They did it. They did their job, and with CTV, we just saw they did their job, and that's great. If they can do that in every other public policies, that would be great. But at least they were the one who looked a little bit more about it and came with the story. So good for them. On
so
that.
With McKinsey's kind of suspect track record, especially the opioids crisis is a great exaggeration, like the example, sorry, not exaggeration, that they're supercharging the opioids market. They don't care what it does to these communities, what it does to individuals. They're just trying to make a buck. So in France and some other countries, activists have been pushing for investigations into the relationship between the government and McKinsey, because it's suggested that McKinsey's self-serving and just trying to make a buck. What do you think we need some sort of investigation like that in Canada?
Absolutely. It must be more than only looking at the contracts that they received and how much money they were able to make with the federal government, but a little bit more details, not only the amount, but what was these contracts, what was the advice, and all these contracts must be public. We must see the details of these deals that we don't see. And I believe that you forgot, Daniel, with all the McKinsey and the links with big international organization, they work also with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yep.
They did work with them. So all these globalists together. And that's why I'm saying McKinsey is the propaganda arm of the World Economic Forum and World Health Organization. They are the one who are pushing these socialist, globalist policies in every Western government.
Yeah. You say that, or people say, Klaus Schwab isn't the one dictating how COVID policies are implemented in Canada, but Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum have a strategic partnership with McKinsey, and McKinsey works directly with these governments to impose these ideas that are pushed by the WEF and the WHO and such. Like, people like to say it's all about conspiracy theories, but this is all out in the open. Like, this is well documented.
It's already coming from the mainstream media.
Coming from the mainstream media, right on their own websites. They're proud of this. They're happy with the influence that they exert over governments around the world.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add on that, or should we open up the floor for some questions?
Yeah, maybe I must just say that, we won't deal with the World Economic Forum, with the World Health Organization, and also with McKinsey as a political party. And, as a government, for us, we will create our own policy here in Canada with elected politicians and for the good of this country. We don't need them. So we're going to be able to save a lot of money.
Yeah, millions and millions of dollars.